Today we're headed to Summerland, BC for a ride on the Kettle Valley Steam Railway. The Kettle Valley Railway was built between 1910 and 16 to service mining communities in southern BC. At Midway, BC, the line tied into the Columbia and Western Railway, which runs from Castlegar. West from Midway, the KVR followed the Kettle River past Rock Creek. At Westbridge, it turns up the West Kettle River and starts to climb past silver lead mines at Beaverdell and Carmi, which had been active since the mid-1890s. It curves around the north end of the Okanagan Highlands, almost 900 meters above Okanagan Lake, then gradually descends to Penticton and crosses the Okanagan Valley. At Summerland, the valley of Trout Creek leads west to the copper and coal mines of Princeton and the Tulameen Valley. From there, the rails head north, connecting through Merritt to Spence's Bridge in the Thompson River Valley, or south via the Coquihalla Canyon to the CPR mainline at Hope. By the 1950s, highway travel had begun to undermine the utility of the railway. The Coquihalla section was in mountainous, avalanche-prone terrain and was the first to be abandoned by 1960. Eventually, freight traffic dwindled, and the last KVR train ran in 1989. By 1991, the CPR let a contract to remove the rails. A group of volunteers in the Okanagan mobilized to preserve a portion of track for a heritage train. Ken Tapping documented this effort in 2016 for the 80th report of the Okanagan Historical Society. With the cooperation of CP Rail, the BC government, and the Royal British Columbia Museum, the volunteers established the Kettle Valley Steam Railway in Summerland. In the fall of 1995, it ran its first tourist train. The operating track descends 160 meters in about 9 kilometers to a turnaround at Canyon View, passing the historical location of the West Summerland station. The train begins west of Summerland at the Prairie Valley station, where there's ample parking and a gift shop. While waiting for departure, let's admire Locomotive 3716 and enjoy the enthusiasm of passengers who perhaps have never ridden a train. 3716 is quite literally a star, as it is worth a couple of movie roles. It was built in 1919 at Montreal Locomotive Works and converted to oil in 1929. It had a long working career with the CPR in southern BC and Alberta until retirement in 1966. Once underway, the train heads through a landscape of gravel mounds and small ponds. These are moraines and Kettle lakes left by glaciers. The downhill run has the locomotive tender forward. At Canyon View, it switched to the other end of the train. The return trip uphill makes 3716 work a little harder, and that makes for better video. Canyon View is at the south end of the line. Here the train turns onto a siding. The locomotive is uncoupled and backed out of the siding across the road. The switch is thrown so that it can pull uphill past the stopped cars. Once connected at the opposite end, we back down onto the Trout Creek Bridge. Notice at the far end of the siding that a high rail truck follows at a discreet distance, carrying a water tank for fire suppression. The countryside has changed a great deal in the 110 years since the trestle was built. What was antelope brush then is now orchards and vineyards. When not in use by the train, the bridge is open for foot and bicycle traffic. The train backs out onto the bridge to give everyone a view into the canyon of Trout Creek. The canyon is cut into walls of granite. After a few minutes, the train pulls forward and stops at Canyon View. Now it's time for everyone to get out and pose with 3716 and read some of the historical signs. After taking on water, it's all aboard for the uphill trip, and the train accelerates slowly away from Canyon View. few minutes, the red awnings of Dirty Laundry Vineyard come into view. It's a good place for a view of the train. Past the winery, the train picks up speed as it rounds a curve, and the track levels out. There's a small rock cut here, or you might get a glimpse of the granite bedrock. And if you're lucky, you may also see some of the locals out looking for trouble. The next section crosses flat and marshy ground. The train whistle sounds as it approaches a level crossing at Morrill Road. This is roughly the location of the Summerland Fault. To the north, the rock is dropped down on the fault. It's not obvious, but was moved from granite onto younger sedimentary rock. The hill to the north, the view out the right, is Little Giant's Head. It's composed of sandstones and conglomerates that eroded off the adjacent volcanic and granitic hills. We're now approaching the historical location of the West Summerland Station. To the east, the cliffs of Giant's Head looms. The kiosk where the station stood has some historical information and photos. Across the road from the station, the sedimentary rocks dip to the north. Behind are the lava cliffs of Giant's Head. Past West Summerland, we loop around a hill the train crew call Little Conkle and pass through a rock cut. The Summerland Museum and Archives has a photo recording its construction. It's humbling to think of the work done by hand and by horse. The rock in the cut is conglomerate, pieces of rock eroded and rounded by strong rivers. The cobbles are a variety of rock, granite, volcanic, and sediment, cemented by sand. The train curves around the west side of Little Conkle, giving views of Prairie Valley and up to Mount Conkle. On the north flank of Mount Conkle, another rock cut exposes lava. This volcanic rock is slightly older than the rock of Giant's Head. Mount Conkle behind us, we move on to moraines. Although no bedrock is visible here, we've also returned to granite and to the end of our journey at Prairie Valley.
Training. Passengers inside the coaches will exit at the center door here. Please watch your steps, folks. Those in the open air car will be detraining at gate number 2. Center door for the coaches, gate number 2 for the open air cars. Thank you, folks.